but there's definitely some time spent on themes and topics where it's like, this is not great for a superhero comic book. There's a way of imparting that information and telling that story and hitting those themes in a way that still manages to work within they have to punch somebody as a resolution.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
I feel so underdressed.
How's that?
You're still so, formal.
Yeah, well, I just got out of work, so I didn't change into recording clothes.
Work, huh?
Work, huh?
I remember what that used to be like. I don't miss it.
No?
I mean, given the choice.
Of not working?
Of doing what I'm doing versus...
recuperating?
Working. I would take working.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
So I looked to the past.
Uh-huh.
Flashback to episode 177 of Contest of Challengers,
a long time ago.
Comics Industry Business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network here in Chicago. And it was 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago.
Okay.
It was the first week of September 2014.
Wow, okay.
When situations were kind of identical to what they are now.
Okay.
So the neat thing about it is hearing me going through this then.
Everyone sounding younger and more higher pitched. Oh, gee, guys.
Well, I sure can't wait till they make that Batman movie. That'll be good.
I hope I never have to see Batman's dick. And then 4 years later,
Whoops.
We all did.
Whoops. We didn't have to. We chose to. We looked. We were, as Dal just pointed out, I'm recovering from surgery again. And same surgery from, well, not same. I mean, same type of surgery, but
I feel like I'll get it right soon. I mean, just, every 4 years, just let me have another go at it.
I feel like it takes me 4 years to heal from your attempts.
Uh-huh.
And we recorded...
Medicine is an art, not a science. Okay, Patrick?
That's what I hear. We'd recorded on the Monday of that week, so I'd had a full 5.5 days of recovery, and my voice was completely shot.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the recording, we had tried to record the day before, but I had absolutely zero voice.
You called out.
So we couldn't do it. And then I realized now, my voice isn't great right now, but...
Oh, it's fine.
I also haven't been using it for the last several days. But it's great to have listened to that a few days ago.
Yeah.
Knowing the stages, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Having lived through it and having seen it,
mm-hmm.
Last time you had said that Saturday was the turning point.
Sure.
Saturday was the point where you thought that I was actually getting better.
Yeah, well, some of it is...
And again, this is 4 years ago.
Right.
So.
Some of it, I think, was psychologically... I think Saturday was when you started to feel better.
Yeah.
And before that, you didn't think you'd ever feel better, and you kind of wore that.
I mean...
Well, this time, even when you're like, this sucks, you're like, I know it gets better. So it doesn't feel as much of this, lightning bolt of realization of oh, I'm actually getting better.
And also, I was complaining about all the itching last time.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous amount of itching this time as well.
Sure.
Itching is good, though. I mean, it's not.
No.
I was looking things up online, which is always fun.
Oh, golly.
To find people that say they would rather have the pain than the itching.
Sure.
I'm not that. And then most of the time I always thought itching that's good, it's healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the histamines, and it's the activation, and it's hey, electrical currents are going, and then there's things too much itching is bad.
Too much of anything is bad.
Sure. Like too much of a comic podcast.
Oh.
Thanks for listening. Oh, no, wait. That's... No, we can't. So normally, if we sit down to record on a Friday night, which this is not,
uh-huh.
I'll have just come home from the store.
Or Saturday night.
And be filled with anecdotes from the day.
Sure. Usually axis to grind. There's
right.
usually here's a list of things that bugged me today.
Sure. So I don't have those today, Dal.
Oh, man. So one thing that bugged me today.
Okay.
It's a thing that I don't see a lot of anymore, and I feel like in my comics retail history, I used to see a lot of it, and thankfully, attitudes towards comics have changed, and the clientele has changed, so I don't really encounter this a whole lot, but we had a guy in today, an older gentleman, who asked a few questions about, I guess, things he was looking for I assume, like, grandchildren or something, and every question he was annoyed that he had to ask, and every answer he barely wanted to hear. Like, he was looking for basically the Fantastic Four comics that he grew up on. Why don't we have those? So, like, I would point out, like, well, we've got these collections. You don't have comics. We have the newer Fantastic Four comics. We have issues 1 and 2 right here. Oh, you don't have any of the old ones? Like, well, I mean, that's a long time ago, and yes, but no, but it's... Oh, I was looking for, like, the Fantastic Four, like, when I grew up. Like, that was 50 years ago. I don't know what to tell you. But he ended up buying some stuff for from the sidekicks from our younger readers' room.
Oh, not the True Believers? What if Fantastic Four had different powers or whatever?
I wasn't interested in those.
But those are the Fantastic Four books he grew up on.
But it was... and Samantha ended up bringing him up, and she had the same sort of, like, feeling... not offended by him, but just abused a little bit? I don't know.
I'm sorry. That sounds terrible.
Neither of those are good descriptions. But it was just an interaction where it's like, this person is letting you know in no uncertain terms that they do not want to have this interaction. They don't want to be in your store. They don't want to be buying these things. And we see it usually around, like, the holidays.
Yeah.
When someone is like, they enter the store and the first thing they say is, I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, first they need to tell us that, and second they need to say it in a tone of voice that indicates that knowing something about it is stupid and worthless.
And that this property, this media is beneath you.
Yes.
Or beneath them.
Yeah, they wish they weren't here, but since they are, let's make this quick. Like, okay, thanks. Thank you for coming. Keep reading comics.
Or never.
So, yeah, having one of those interactions today, it was brief and it wasn't so bad. He bought stuff. But it was still a reminder of the old days where you would have kind of a dedicated clientele for comics, and if anyone outside of that very specific, known-to-you demographic came in, it would just be like pulling teeth. Like they were unkind. And we don't see a lot of that anymore, so it took me back. Nostalgia, Patrick.
Yeah, the wrong kind.
Yeah. I think it's all the wrong kind, but that's a different discussion. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
As someone who hasn't been inside a comic shop in
4 days.
4 days now? How do you feel about comics? Like, I always wonder if I wasn't working in a comic shop, if I would like comics more? Like, I'd want to read them more and I'd enjoy them more?
I have a tremendous amount of books that I need to get through.
You do, I'm looking at them.
And I had foolishly thought that this week of recovery would be a catch-up point. Mm-hmm. And there was even a point today where I came into this very room,
the recording studio,
sat in this very chair.
$1 million recording studio, which you're just lounging around in.
$6 million.
It's depreciated, believe me, from all of the comics that are in here.
Sat in this very chair with do you see that Mr. and Mrs. X comic there?
I do.
All the comics in that pile.
It's one through four, probably.
On this table. No. I'm current on that book. That's just.
Oh, that's the pile. Okay.
Yeah, that's books from this week that I never meant to have this long, like Cemetery Beach, Gideon Falls.
Because usually, like a pile in the pocket.
Right. This is just those were. This doesn't matter to anyone, but where these were in my room kept getting in my way.
Okay.
So because they were meant to be read and given to you to take back immediately.
That didn't happen.
That did not happen. So they were put here to get out of my way, so I would stop almost knocking them on the floor.
Now they're too far out of your way.
And then never being able to pick them up. So I came down and I sat down and I put them on this table right here. Did not read any of them. Mm-hmm. Then eventually got up and put them back in the rack. So to answer your question, boy, I still love comics. I love the idea of comics. In fact, I almost today bought a Captain America Christmas sweater.
Oh, neat.
Because there's a company that has a whole bunch of new Marvel ones up.
Okay.
And they're great. They look wonderful.
Yeah.
Except, A, I hate sweaters.
Right.
And B, I'd never wear it. But I still...
Those both seem like marks against it, true.
I still found my size, put it in the cart, and then said, what am I doing?
What am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah. I would never... I mean, a couple years ago I bought a Deadpool Christmas sweater that is still way too small for me.
Sure.
But maybe one day.
One day.
Like last year I wore that Santa's husband sweater for an event, and I hated wearing it.
You did, it's true.
So why would I don't wear sweaters. I don't wear pullovers. I need buttons. I need
like a button-up
downs.
sweater, like one of those.
Yeah, like a cardigan, right? Is a cardigan specifically the kind with the buttons, or is that just a brand name
it
or
might
style?
Be.
I don't know, but yeah, I would definitely need something with buttons, and I would probably never button it. So it'd be like an open coat.
Really, never button.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would or not.
Vests. Same idea.
I do, but
it's like a vest with sleeves.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Never say never, but I don't know that I would do it.
I see.
It is a question when presented with the sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on the fit as well. But no, getting back to your question, I really love the idea of comics and superheroes and the books. And
I guess I just meant specifically, like, I feel like I would read a lot more if I wasn't working in a comic shop. Like I've mentioned before that oftentimes, like, you finish a string of days and it's like the last thing you want to look at is comic books because you've been immersed in comic books for days at a time. And a lot of the things that you and I end up reading are specifically for work. Like, I have to stay current on this title because everyone's talking about it.
Right.
I have to read this new book because people are going to ask about it. I wouldn't say very little, but not much of what you and I read is for our own personal enjoyment.
Yeah,
like
my own personal enjoyment comes and gets stuck on this rack and never gets read.
But I wonder if,
21 issues behind on Saga now.
That seems like a lot.
Yep.
I wonder if I would be reading more books if I wasn't working in a store. Like, you'd assume it would go the other way. I think a lot of people assume it goes the other way. That people read a ton of books because they work in a comic shop and you've got all these things at your disposal and you can just read whatever you want.
No, I know what it is. You'd be reading less, but you'd be reading purely for enjoyment. How many books do you read on a Tuesday?
A bunch.
Right.
Yeah, it depends on the week.
Right. You read a ton of books. You wouldn't be reading those on normally.
But I feel like there's graphic novels I'd be reading or older stuff that I would read again. Like, there's
read again, man. That's the...
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that
I
either I never finished a series of, like My Management, or stuff that I really want to reread, like the Mignola Hellboy stuff. And it's just like, in theory, I could do that whenever I want. I never really want to. I intellectually want to, but emotionally, like, sitting down and spending time on it, I feel like I would just get, like, bored and anxious and immediately go do something else. Like, I wouldn't be able to really enjoy it like I'd want to.
That's because there's always a mountain of other things, new things we have to read.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know, yeah.
And speaking of new things...
Well, when we win the Mega Millions lottery, at some point, I don't know when, we'll definitely have to revisit this topic as multimillionaires who have nothing but time on hands.
Do you happen to know if anybody won last night?
They did not.
Oh my god.
It rolled over, Patrick.
Oh my god.
Over $1 billion with a B dollars.
Wow. My sister earlier in the week had asked if I needed anything,
mm-hmm.
and I said yes, I would like her to get me the winning Mega Millions lottery ticket.
I rolled my eyes a little bit because I was at McDonald's this morning and the guy next to me was like, yeah, I'll take an Egg McMuffin and a small coffee and the winning Mega Millions ticket. So people are already doing it.
Sorry.
It's
well,
okay.
My
you
sister
didn't know you weren't there.
Went on her phone, and because you can buy them on your phone now.
Oh, God, that seems
and bought
like
a ticket on her phone and sent it to me.
Nope, I get them at the gas station on the corner of North and Western.
A little after 10 last night, I got a message saying, sorry, I tried.
Yeah.
Which made me assume that we didn't win.
Well, that ticket didn't win.
What I say we, I mean... Well, I mean,
right.
obviously...
Her ticket didn't win.
Nor did mine.
We didn't win yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a...
Every time it rolls over, that just means our eventual jackpot is so much bigger and better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
I saw a sign of somebody on a ladder changing the millions to billions, mega billions.
They've all of the like LED signs and stuff in gas station windows. It's only 3 digits.
Yeah.
Because it's never been over $999 million. They've never had to deal with a $1 billion jackpot before.
You know what'll happen?
We'll win it. Yes,
billion people
I just
win.
Said.
We'll win it, but so will a billion other people.
A billion
so
people
we'll
have
get
the
a dollar.
exact same numbers.
Yep.
Some screw up in the system.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, I feel like we've gotten slightly off topic.
Slightly off topic. When people need to show up and the store is just unlocked and open and nobody's in it, you'll know we won.
No, we've talked about this before. Like a lot of people who play the lottery on occasion, we have discussions over what course our life would take afterwards, and I think the agreement is generally that the challengers would keep going. We may not be as day-to-day involved in it, but I like the idea of that store still existing. It would feel cruel to win and then basically tell everyone who supported the store, like, thanks, bye. Like, that... I don't know that that's the way that I would want to leave it, you know?
Sure, and we've both said that before, but we haven't won yet.
Right. And again, definitely not saying that we're going to be working, 40-hour weeks there. But also not saying that it would just be like, a piece of paper in the window that says closed forever. That's... Neither of those, I think, are the outcomes.
Welcome to Kent's Challengers.
Oh, I don't know if that would be one of the outcomes either.
Well, I don't think Kent would want it.
I don't know. Someone just gave me a comic store.
I had a segue before, but you stepped on it.
Sorry, dude.
So we won't go back to that. We'll go a different way. I do want to mention that we have a brand new $5 Patreon patron.
Uh-oh.
And his name is Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Or, I guess their name is Tom? Tom didn't have any other information. So it's just Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
So yeah, thanks, Tom. You'll be part of the regular thank you section. But if it keeps growing like this, that'd be great. It's like winning the lottery. It's like winning the lottery of the people that actually want to listen to what we're talking about.
Sure. 200 million more people like Tom, and we're good to go.
I read today that Archie has canceled their Marvel Digest series.
Is that right?
Including 2 issues that haven't come out, will not come out.
I want to say there was one listed in the new previous catalog that's coming out, a Miles Morales one.
I just, the orders that I just finished, I upped our orders because...
They sell out.
They do. And we bit big in the beginning, and we thought it was a bad idea, but we don't have any of those.
Yeah, like a lot of kid stuff, it's difficult to look at it on the normal, 3 or 4 or 5 week cycles.
The only thing that doesn't work as far as, like, these kids' books will go eventually, is local kid stuff.
Yeah. Stuff that's, like, not a property.
And like, occasional, like, David Chelsea had a Snow Angel one-shot a couple years ago. I'm like, this will be great. I miss David Chelsea. No. Not at all.
Yeah, the rest of it goes eventually. Like, sometimes we had someone, club member Artie, was in, and he needed stuff for a kid's party. So it's like, I need 20-something kids' comics. So just buy a bunch of stuff.
Sure. That's great.
Yeah, and I think that'll happen again probably more around the holidays as people need, a bunch of stuff for younger readers that are in the house.
And the dedicated kid sellers, I've been raising the numbers little by little after we did 2 restocks over the summer as well.
There's some stuff that I just recently had to cut, like I think DuckTales, the single comics I cut because the last 3 issues we've sold 0.
Ironically, those are ones that I stocked up a bunch on because we were out. So yeah, it's weird.
One of the
cycles.
things that we can do though with younger readers' books is we could stop ordering DuckTales at 14, and then if stuff sells through, we just start ordering again with 18. There's not a sense of like, we can't make a market for this because we skipped 3 months.
Yep.
There's no continuity to most of these books. Doesn't matter. You just need issues of it. You just need copies of Teen Titans Go or My Little Pony or Disney princesses. Like, it doesn't matter which ones you've got, just some.
My Little Pony is another one where it's very cyclical. It's
for sure
a bunch at once and then nothing for a while, so then you decide to cut orders, then you sell everything, and then you need to get more back in.
Because for all these books, it's strange to me that there isn't, like, for the kids that buy them, there isn't a routine to them. Like, with folks that are buying adult books, basically, essentially, like anything that would be in the normal part of Challengers, there's people who come in, no matter what the book is, independent, small press, major publisher, on a regular basis to get the new issue of whatever they're getting. But with the kids stuff, the kids' visits are not on a regular basis. They're not every Wednesday or once a month or every 2 months. They're just whenever the parent feels like they've got time to bring the kid in, or the kid deserves to get something, or whatever. Like, that's why the graphic novel explosion is so much better, because you get these parents bringing kids in, and they're only going to come in every 3 or 4 months, so they're going to just stock up. They're going to get $100 worth of kids' graphic novels, and then in 3 months the kid will be done with all those and sick of them, and then you come in and you get more stuff.
Yeah.
But the monthly, weekly visits, that doesn't seem to happen with kids and kids comics.
And there's so few kids comics that we have for subscribers. I mean, subscribers that have kids comics on their lists.
Do you mean like for themselves or for children?
Either.
I think we have some.
We have some, but it's a very small number.
You're right. It's not a lot.
It's a handful. Like, you could name them.
I could.
Like, you can't name everybody who gets Amazing Spider-Man.
No.
But you could name everybody who gets younger reader books. Like, you can name our two Simpsons club members. Not that it matters, because that book is over.
All done.
You could have named our Powerpuff Girl one, but that's gone too.
I can name the people who get My Little Pony Nightmare Nights.
Yeah. There you go. Weird that it's that one.
Uh-huh.
So there's so many
because there's only two people, which means I can name both of them.
Looking ahead to the holidays and holiday sales, one of the things I always want to have is a go-to recommended gift book. Now, everything we have on the front tables is great starting books and great first volumes or whatever.
Sure.
But I always want there to be, like, a book. Like, it's been a while, but Pride of Baghdad. Mm-hmm. That was a Christmas book. That was a book that came out in time for Christmas that you could recommend to just about anybody.
Would have been Mr. Miracle, but that's not happening.
Exactly. It would have definitely been Mr. Miracle. But, like, the last couple of years, we really haven't had any that stood out as, like, oh, this is a Christmas book.
They cross a lot of lines as far as, like, who could possibly read them.
Yeah. So we already have two for this year, which is actually more than we had for last year.
Okay, what are they?
Well, one is one we talked about thoroughly last week, and will eventually be a very cluttered and hard-to-understand podcast. The comic book story of professional wrestling.
Okay.
Which is a fun history of pro wrestling.
I like that there's a growing section of the comic book history of whatever. Like, baseball was the first one, professional wrestling's the second one.
Those are just ones we carried. They've had others.
Yeah, I think
they've had beer. They've had gaming.
Oh my god! Oh, beer would have been awesome. God damn it!
Yeah,
we had a guy in, and he came in. and He's like, "Do you have anything like for a bartender, like about cocktails?" And we came up with nothing.
Yeah,
like the closest I could come up with is like one of those Anthony Bourdain cooking books, but it's about cooking or like relish, which might have some drink stuff in there, but in general, it's about food.
Yeah.
And Donovan's were all like about alcoholism, and it's like that's not the topic. So we sent the guy away with nothing, and it's like, oh man, if we would have had that beer one.
Yeah. Well, we could.
I'll look into that next time I'm in the store, which is tomorrow.
I found a potential new distributor for us to use.
Okay.
Thanks to John Dudis from Carol and John's in Cleveland.
Neat.
And I'm not saying they're going to take the place of Baker and Taylor, but maybe. Who knows? I need to find more about their terms and things.
Okay, cool.
Just because, as much as we crap on Diamond for not having things in stock, most of the stuff we would get from Diamond is a better discount than we get from B&T.
Yeah, ish. I mean, there's a lot of the kids stuff and that sort of stuff. I think it's comparable discount.
Yeah. I don't know. I look...
Like, it's within a couple percentage points, and we don't order in such huge volume that the couple percentage points are going to make a big difference.
But there's obviously the returnability aspect for events, which is a big key.
Yeah, for author signings, yep.
Anyway, the second book that I think is a good grab for anybody is the new Brubaker Phillips hardcover, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies.
Okay.
Because it's a fun standalone, well, I mean, the title kind of says it all. Mm-hmm. But it's still, at its core, it's a crime book.
Yeah, somebody asked, oh, they're not doing like another crime book? And I'm like, oh my god, it's the super crime book. It's the most like archetypal kind of crime book that's criminal again, basically.
And they're doing criminal next. They're going back to criminal. Yep, did you read this yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've been busy working.
I understand. I assume you hadn't because it was sitting here.
No.
But I mean, this is one that it's a little bit. It's more accessible, I think, than a lot of things they've done before because there's no otherworldly elements, and it's not as well. It's rated M for mature. It's not as mature as some of it.
Okay.
There is one complaint it's been getting from certain people.
Okay.
Smell it. Open it and smell it.
I know, it smells great.
Yeah, it has a weird page smell to it, but that's the thing that I was told about before I read it, and as I read it, it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not as explicit as some of their other stuff can be.
For sure.
And it's a done-in-one story. It doesn't have this, like, oh my god, you never saw it coming twist ending. Because, I mean, you've read Brubaker and Phillips before.
Yeah, it's a crime story.
Yeah. But it's still, I like the package. I like that it's, also I think it's pretty cheap.
It's not bad. $15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, I'm going to put it right here. That you're going to hear a noise of it hitting the table. That was it.
That's what it sounds like.
I did make a note of some other books to talk about this week,
Okay.
since I've read comics. However, half of them I haven't read, so I don't know if you have either.
I have not read Aquacorn Cove or A City Inside yet.
Okay, those were two of them.
Yes.
Can you see the board?
I can.
Oh, okay.
I can see that part of it.
I thought you were just guessing.
No.
Oh,
Aquacorn Cove, I do want to read. I just haven't had a chance yet. And A City Inside goes alongside a couple
Tillie
Walden
Walden
novellas and full-length novels that I mean to get to. Although I do want to once again sing the praises of I Love This Part, which might be another book that we put on the front table as a gift-style book. Or if we do a little display for gift stuff.
what is her chronology?
It's tough because, like, Spinning, I think, was being done at the same time as On a Sunbeam. On a Sunbeam was being serialized digitally. So I think those two kind of overlap.
Okay.
And then stuff like End of Summer, City Inside, I Love This Part, were all novellas that came out before Spinning. So, again, what's being worked on when? I don't know. I'd have to look online. I don't know if there's been anything I've seen anywhere. Because a lot of this stuff we're just getting now.
Yeah.
When really it was out maybe a year or two ago.
And isn't some of it being repackaged now?
Yeah, like we got in the hardcover of A City Inside when we had gotten the soft cover in 5 or 6 months ago.
I want to say I read that one. I want to say I read A City Inside, but I can't ask you about it because you haven't read it.
I flipped through it, and maybe I did read part of it. I don't know. Some of the beginning looked familiar, which is when I realized, oh, I bought this in softcover.
Oh. And is she jumping publishers and things, too, or are they just...
The novellas all came out under Avery Hill.
Okay.
And her newer stuff is coming out under First Second. Beyond that, I don't know.
It's good stuff, man. She's going to have a huge body of work.
Yeah, it's very exciting for someone that young to already have a bunch of killer stuff.
Until she decides to just move on and go to some other new pursuit.
Yeah, I am excited to see what 80s cartoon she is the showrunner for at DreamWorks in 2021. Leaving comics behind for a more reputable medium.
The next book I want to bring up is Exorsisters.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know the creators' names.
Ian Boothby is the writer.
And
the artist...
Giselle
Legace. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but I believe she
Giselle
is...
Legace.
French or French-Canadian?
French-Canadian.
Okay. She had trouble getting over the border for a C2E2 show a couple years back.
Oh, no.
She was bringing over some of her mature readers' work, and the border agents said nope.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but Exorsisters was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's about twin sisters who are like John Constantine. Occult detectives.
Yeah. Nancy Drew meets John Constantine.
Yeah. Or are they?
What the? There's a twist on the first issue about their relationship.
Right. And the art is so crisp and clean and very Archie-like, you would say?
Very much, yeah. Yeah, it's to some people, they're not as into that. I talked to someone who read it, and the Archie thing was a negative, not a positive. But I think it's a solid book, and I think the idea of a kind of issue-by-issue, they solve a mystery thing is underrated. That's very difficult to do in a way where it makes a logical sense and still surprises the audience.
Yeah.
I was very happy with the first issue. I thought it was a very good read.
Really fun. And unexpectedly fun, too.
As we were talking, I remembered I got the Giselle Legace thing wrong. It was not because of her adult content, I don't think. I want to say it was because she, at the border, they asked if she was going to be doing any work in the United States, and she said, yeah, she's going to be doing commissions.
Oh, okay.
And
I
they
remember
went,
this story.
Nope. And she realized she should not have said that, but it was too late because she did.
So she draws a webcomic called Menage a 3, and I've been not catching up on it, but reading a lot of it in my rehabilitation.
Uh-huh.
It is just like a wacky situational roommate comedy.
Okay. Three's Company?
It's very Three's Company.
Okay.
It's very, very misunderstanding, and everybody winds up knowing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sexy. It's very dirty.
Okay, cool.
It's very light. It's very fun. 1,000% not safe for work.
Sure.
But you can definitely see like the art tighten up.
That's cool.
As it goes by. And I had to reboot my computer last night. So earlier today, I'm like, where was I in this? It's so hard to figure out where you were. I'm like halfway through and they've been doing it since like 2009.
Gosh.
And I'm literally just getting through it as fast as I can because I'm interested in the characters and the story.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that most of the ads and stuff in the back of Exorsisters were for her other work, which a lot of it is not
Image.
It's for adults. It's not appropriate for younger readers.
Yeah.
But Exorsisters is a teen-rated book.
Yeah.
So, okay. But yeah, Exorsisters, pretty solid first issue. Really enjoyed it.
It could have legs. It could go places.
I hope so. I hope it's got a little bit of room to tell its story. It's been tough at Image. A lot of stuff has either gotten truncated or the creators decided not to continue it because it wasn't financially viable. It switched to graphic novels instead of single issues.
I just finished the December orders.
Uh-huh.
By the way, I did all the December orders whilst recovering, so
Thanks, dude.
If any of the numbers don't make any sense...
So in December, if it feels like we hate comics because we've ordered so little of them, it's because Patrick was in pain coming up with these numbers.
Well, specifically, a lot of these new Image books, I barely gave a look at.
There's a bunch of stuff recently that we've been selling like low single digits or 0 copies for some of these new launches. People just don't feel like trying them, and I don't know that I blame them.
And looking at the drop-off, we've talked about the drop-off a million times, but you could sell 12 copies of issue 1 and 2 copies of issue 2.
Yeah.
There's no... I mean, we rarely, if ever, match our number 2 issues of any title to our number 1.
Because you got to assume a few people who bought issue 1 aren't going to like it, or will just buy a trade or whatever. So there's going to be some percentage drop off. The
philosophy of, well, you want to have it on the shelf for people to pick up later on.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily happen anymore. We can't afford to do that financially or rack space. I mean, that's not to say we don't want to, like, we want to have Exorsisters number 1 on the shelf for a while because we like
on the book. I mean, there's stuff that we promote that we're excited about where it's like, yeah, we're going to want to make sure we have Heroes in Crisis number 1 for the duration of the run because we want to make sure that anyone who's interested can pick it up. We restocked Doomsday Clock any number of times. We've got a ton of copies of Captain America number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 1, Thor number 1, Black Panther number 1. But when it's something by a creative team we're not familiar with in a genre we don't really care about, and the subscription numbers are really low, we're going to get some copies for the rack, and maybe people will be into it, but for the most part, not going to order 20 or 30 extra for the shelf. I would have to hand sell it, and I don't want to do it for that book.
Sparrowhawk number 1. That's a book that I hadn't read, but you liked it.
I really did. I was the only one who read it, apparently, because we sold 0 copies.
What was it about?
Sparrowhawk is a very Neil Gaiman-esque Victorian fairy tale mystery sort of thing.
Okay.
Basically, it's a girl who winds up in a fairy realm, so she has to learn what the rules are, figure out how to escape, while at the same time in the real world, an evil fairy queen has taken over her body and is going to use it to take over the world.
Okay.
Really good stuff. Well written, fun characters, nice perspective, but for whatever reason,
we sold 0 copies.
Nobody but me cared.
0 copies.
Nobody. It's written by Delilah Dawson, who did Lady Castle and is doing some of the Marvel action stuff.
Yeah, she's doing the Spider-Man Marvel action.
And again, Sparrowhawk, real good read. For people who like stuff like Monstress, you may want to check it out. But yeah, it just, for whatever reason, didn't click with people. And obviously, you could say, well, why wasn't I telling people about this? We were getting Monstress. Well, first of all, we were probably promoting a different book that week that had a little bit more on it.
Yeah.
Secondly, sometimes you need people at the counter to be buying the book to be able to go, oh, if you're buying Monstress, you may want to check this out. And Monstress hasn't come out in a little bit. So
and also,
we're going to say that too.
Just because someone really likes Monstress doesn't mean they want multiple Monstresses.
Right. We found that when we've tried to recommend things to our subscribers. It's one thing to say, hey, you're reading a book by Marjorie Liu, here's a different book she's writing. And sometimes people will say, oh yeah, I want that. But when it's hey, you're reading a dark fantasy book, here's another dark fantasy book. Well, I'm not reading dark fantasy books. I'm reading Monstress.
Yeah.
So I don't need a bunch of dark fantasy books. I need the one that I'm liking. Which makes it tricky when we get new Image series that are by creators that don't necessarily have a lot of work on the stands right now to be able to match people to. So it creates a thing of you can see even Images well, this person who you've never heard of is doing this book. Here's a few other Image things we've done that are kind of like it. And it's well, I can see why thematically you might link those, but quality-wise and body of work-wise, I don't feel like those line up. So usually we don't tend to go that way. But I don't know. Yeah, we got a bunch of copies of Sparrowhawk #1. I recommend checking it out. Certainly if you'd like to see us carry Sparrowhawk 2 and 3. I'd like to sell at least one copy off the shelf before I order Sparrowhawk #3.
Good luck.
Yeah, like, usually if it's a book I believe in and it doesn't do well on one, I'll order a few of issue 2. But by that point, like, it's got to stand on its own legs. And if it's not selling, it's not selling. We did our part. I don't know. People bought other stuff. Did you want to talk about a different comic book that people actually bought, as far as you know?
Well, I don't know because I wasn't in Wednesday, so I don't know how. I don't know how well Shuri #1 went.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shuri #1 is a really fun book.
I really liked it. Good writing, good art, fun character.
Interesting because other Black Panther spin-offs have not been
purchased.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, bought.
Bought.
Yeah, right.
Viable,
regardless of creative team or quality. Black Panther and the Crew, or Rise of Wakanda, or Rise of Black Panther, or World of Wakanda.
Yeah, the Long Live the King graphic novel.
Yeah,
all of that stuff. Shuri's got some advantages on it. First of all, obviously the character. Doing something like World of Wakanda doesn't really tell you exactly what the stories are going to be. By design, it's an anthology. But Shuri directly tells you, hey, this character you like from the movie, this is her comic book. And secondly, it's just a really well done book. Leonardo Romero's art is
so fun,
really good, and really well suited to it. Nnamdi Okorafor, who's the writer, just has a great grasp on the voice of the character and does all of the thankless Marvel Comics work of, okay, I've got to take a character who is portrayed in the comics one way and in the movie
completely different way,
and find some way to make that continuity work for the character in the comic. So I'm giving people who saw the movie the character they remember from the movie, but in a way that doesn't 100% reset the character from the Marvel Universe. So there's some clunky dialogue that has to explain why the character looks different and acts different. But it's all in service of a better version of the character, frankly. There's some stuff that Ta-Nehisi Coates did in the early days of Black Panther that I feel like now that he's written more Marvel stuff and has more scope on kind of what he's doing, I don't know that he would do them the same way again.
Yeah.
He's gotten to be a much better Marvel Comics writer in the last year.
I really enjoy his Cap series.
Yeah, it's real good. His current Black Panther stuff is just great. Marvel Comics cosmic sci-fi adventure. The first 11 issues of Black Panther, there's some growing pains there. For issue 1, I still feel like he figures out the unit of a comic book really well, but there's definitely some time spent on themes and topics where it's like, this is not great for a superhero comic book. There's a way of imparting that information and telling that story and hitting those themes in a way that still manages to work within they have to punch somebody as a resolution. Shuri, though, knows what kind of story it's telling and tells it well. It's a very good comic, especially for people who have enjoyed the Black Panther movie. But just in general, just in a Marvel Comics way, I think it does its job well and sits really well alongside like the Riri Williams Iron Man stuff and the Unstoppable Wasp and Ms. Marvel and stuff like that. It fits very well into the teen Marvel hero dynamic.
I got so drawn into Shuri #1, into the story as its own separate unit, that when Black Panther leaves in the story in that book, I'm like, where's he going? And then, because part of it is he hasn't come back,
yeah,
I'm like,
there's a mystery.
Why didn't he come back?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh wait, no, his own book. Yeah, okay. But I didn't immediately get that.
Right.
Which you don't have to. You don't have to be reading Black Panther at all.
Its own. It's its own little story. It was really, really good. I was glad because one of the weird things from a year ago was, why is Black Panther, which is like one of the biggest characters in movies now since this past February, but even then was like, people were excited about Black Panther coming to theaters and they were excited about the character in Civil War. And you've got Ta-Nehisi Coates on Black Panther and all of this stuff working for it, yet every spinoff was like immediately canceled due to low sales. Immediately.
Yeah.
So the fact that I think Shuri's going back to press, I think, for issue 1 is a great sign.
How are we doing on it? I mean, do we still have it?
We still have it because we ordered a bunch, but I mean, we'll run out for sure.
I have been hearing that other stores go. I did that with Andy Huddle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Other stores are doing equally as well with it.
Yeah.
And calling it a big hit.
It's the sort of book that's super easy to sell. Because it's not only is it good, but people want to buy it. So when those two things work in tandem, you're going to make some money.
Why can't it be like this all the time, Dal?
I don't know. Usually it's one or the other.
So flashing back to 4 years ago again, the week that I came back to work,
after having your tummy ache,
that
was why you took time off. I don't remember 4 years ago, but I remember you talking about your tummy a lot. So I think it was a tummy ache.
After my minor owie,
you had a tummy ache for a few days.
After having my guts torn apart and ripped and shredded,
rooted around in
by robots,
and then
sewn back together. Hopefully,
was
the
it
right
robots?
Order.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I equate it to the hospital scene in Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Dr. Octopus's arms.
All I think about is Empire Strikes Back and them cutting the tauntaun open with a lightsaber. Okay. I just assume it's the same thing. I thought he smelled bad on the outside.
Can we imagine? So immediately, like I came back, I had surgery on Wednesday. My first day back was the next Tuesday. That Wednesday we had an after-hours God Hates Astronauts event. And that Saturday we had an after-hours speculative relationships event.
Wow.
And I
back
don't
into the crucible.
I don't remember the GHA one, but I do remember speculative relationships because I just sat at the front counter and tried not to move at all.
Sure.
Immediately, like right before this, we had Daniel Warren Johnson
just a billion things.
Signing Murder Falcon #1, and that signing went really well.
Cool.
It was a lot of fun. He was in for 3 hours. Normally we do 2 hours, but he's a local boy.
Yeah.
And he was willing to do 3, and he had people in for the 3 hours.
So we recorded last Friday, right?
Yeah, before this.
Okay.
Yes. Before Daniel.
Because I did, while you were doing the Daniel Warren Johnson Walking Dead Day,
yeah,
I was at the Ace Comic Con.
Yeah, we talked a lot about you going to it, but not having been at it.
Yeah, short version, way better attended than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a ghost town.
Yeah.
Especially considering how far back in Navy Pier the convention part is, the festival hall.
Like, it's literally underwater. Like, you are, 2 miles out into the lake?
No, you're not. You're still on the pier. It's just, it's on the Ferris wheel, which I felt was really hard to do individual vendors, because you have to, you get in, and then you're, in the vendor space, and it's like, I want to go to a different one. Like, well, we're rotating around now.
You gotta wait a full
You gotta
circle.
get out, and then wait for the next one to come around that you want.
Huh.
No, it's inside.
Counterproductive.
And it basically is just a giant kind of warehouse is how it feels. Half the show floor was vendors and some artists, maybe less than 24, and then a lot of the corrals where people will line up for different people's autographs and photo ops and stuff. And then the other half of the hall is the seating for the main stage, which is what we saw was just Chris Evans, Lee Pace, and Karen Gillan were up there doing a bit, but we were all the way in the back. And while they had different,
is she still bald?
She is not. She looked gorgeous.
Oh no, hold on. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Karen again.
Yeah, he looked gorgeous too. But we were so far back. We were the second or third row from all the way in the back, and they had these speaker stands set up so you could hear people who were far away.
Sure.
And the speakers were far away, and they had a screen up so you could see what was going on. But unfortunately, the acoustics were terrible because half of the hall and everything behind you is a convention show floor. So all of the conversations, all the talking, all the shouting, all the everything is right behind you. So you could kind of barely hear what was coming out of the speaker stands. So it was sitting all the way in the back like that. While you felt like you were still in the hall, you might as well not have been.
Yeah.
If you couldn't sit within 2/3 of the stage.
Did they have screens so you could see?
Yeah, you could see, but again, you couldn't really hear what was being said. And one of my complaints about the way that celebrities conduct themselves to these things is how little effort I feel like they put into it. Lee Pace and Chris Evans look like you had found them while they were shopping for groceries.
Yeah,
It's baseball hats, it's t-shirts or sweatshirts, it's a pair of jeans, and then all of the people's photographs with them that people are paying hundreds of dollars for are in the same clothes.
Yeah,
they're not wearing a Captain America t-shirt,
right?
Or they're on the red carpet. No. They're looking like you found them on the street and said, "Let me get a photo."
The store Instagram feed was filled with people who took photos at Ace.
So weird.
And I did see that, Tom Hiddleston was at least in a sweater.
Okay.
But Emmy, who has done some work for us before, was there in her full Hela costume.
Okay.
And then he's just there in his jeans and a sweater.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to make this a gender thing, but it felt like the dudes put so little effort into their outfits and how they presented themselves. Like, Karen Gillan up on the stage for the panel looked gorgeous. I mean, looked like she wanted to present herself well. The other two guys looked like they more or less rolled out of bed. And it's like, if she tried to do that, she would have gotten
each other
so much shit. While these guys, they didn't even take their hats off.
Yeah.
Like, that bothered me. That felt, I'm not disrespectful, but I would not want to pay money to have a photo with them, if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
you know?
I did hear that for people that got, like, the multiple character photo, like the Karen Gillan, Chris Evans, Elizabeth Olsen, Tom Hiddleston, they were all sitting in a line looking at the camera, and you just stood behind them. And in the picture taken, there was no interaction, there was no hello, there was no... Because you're not
they don't
paying
even
to
look
meet
at
them.
You. They don't even look at you.
You're not paying to meet them, you're paying...
Photograph.
Yeah. But I did see, like, a lot of the one-on-one photos, there was a lot more interaction or hugging.
Cool. Yeah, and I've heard ups and downs depending on, where you're at and who you're meeting, and some people are really into it and want to make it an event for the person.
Yeah.
And some people are just like, I'm just here for an hour and I'm going to stand next to 100 people and that's about it. So all over for the Ace Comic Con, it's a wizard show more or less. If you like wizard shows and you like that experience, they do that. If you don't like the wizard experience, they do that. So keep that in mind.
And we've heard that this is not a regular thing. Like, Ace is traveling all across the country. They'll do shows in different cities. And while they're not saying they won't come back to Chicago, it won't be like Ace 2019.
Right, and which is fine. Everything about it felt like something you could throw together pretty fast. And hopefully it did well for the vendors who were set up there. I talked to a few of them, and it was midway through the day on Saturday. And, it seemed like it was performing like a wizard show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily good if you're a vendor.
No, but I mean, it I don't know. I didn't get a full accounting, so I don't know how it was going. I know I didn't buy anything.
Not even a hot dog?
Wasn't there for long enough. Basically got dinner afterwards.
Okay.
So, like, walking back, there was an Irish pub that was down the block and got a pretty decent dinner.
Okay. So,
they served poutine for the appetizer, and it was pretty good.
Did it have gravy as well or not?
It had gravy. It had cheese curds like you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
It had brisket. Yeah.
Oh, it had the brisket as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If anything,
Fancy.
it was too large
yeah.
for an appetizer because it's a very heavy dish. And then for a meal, I had a buttermilk breaded chicken sandwich.
Okay.
And so all of that was, by the time it was like, hey, how about dessert? It was like, how about not?
Better bring me a bucket.
The person I was with was going to get a cocktail, and then at the end of the meal, it was like, no cocktail.
Wait.
Too full to
Cocktail
drink.
at the end of the meal?
Yeah. I don't make the decision. That was just their decision.
Okay. That's, I mean, hey, whatever people want to do.
Yeah.
My preference would be cocktail before, during, and after.
Of course.
There's no restriction. I can drink again, right? Let's find out.
I'm not a doctor. I'm just a surgeon.
I was going to say, if you're not a doctor, why do you keep stabbing me with knives? And also in that time, and since that time, I guess I should say, we had, you had multiple events at the store.
Yeah, Henri Compton was in for Wednesday night to promote his currently running Kickstarter for Yi Sun Shin. Henri, nice guy, like him a lot. Always want to help him promote stuff. He was very nice. I think my favorite overheard interaction was so Henri's thing, and we've talked about this before, is that he will go up to people who are in the store and say, "Hey, can I tell you about my book?"
Yeah,
he's not immediately pitching you. He's not trying to push you to buy something.
Yeah,
he's asking you if he can tell you about his book. If you say, no thanks, he'll be like, that's fine, no problem.
Have a nice day.
If you're like, I want to look for books first, maybe I'll swing back, he'll be like, great, I'll be right over here if you need me. And then he gives you a pitch on his book, tells you what he's got, offers you a deal on several options that he's selling, makes it real easy, no pressure, which is why we have Henri back as often as he wants, because it's never a nuisance. It's never something where we're like, this is representing the store badly, this is a problem for us him being here. It's never a problem. So Henri can come back whenever.
And to be a little bit more cutthroat about it, we don't have to pay anything up front.
No, it's true.
He gives us money from what he sells.
He does. So we made some money from him being there in a way that cost us nothing other than setting up a table and doing some promotion on our channels and stuff. My favorite one was there's a guy, a subscriber, who was one person back in line because it was later in the night. We had a little bit of a line going. And
At the register.
At the register. And he was waiting to get his stuff. And while I was helping the person in front of him, Henri comes around and goes to the second person who's waiting, "Hey, can I tell you about my book?" And the guy goes, "What's wrong?" Because he wasn't waiting for someone to talk to him, so he didn't really listen. And then he gave this very nervous reaction. And I was like, "Oh, I was wondering if I could tell you about my book." He's like, "Oh, okay, sure." But just the idea, "What's wrong?" Like, easy, settle down.
I wonder what that person's personal life is like normally.
It is someone who I will tell you off the air who it is, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay." Someone who is not high-strung necessarily, but definitely someone who has a nervous nature about them.
Okay.
So it was not a huge surprise that was the go-to when approached by strangers. "What's wrong?"
And then the day after, you had to go in on a Thursday.
Did. We had, from out of town, Jason Walls. His new graphic novel series, Last Pick, just came out from First Second. And we were approached...
And this is something I thought... Oh, I'm sorry. You were about to say it, but I thought you set this up all along.
No, we were approached by First Second because Jason used to live in Chicago, and he had mentioned us as a place he would like to stop for a book tour.
Oh, excellent.
And we said, absolutely. We love working with First Second. We love working with new people. And we love people who want to work with us. So Jason was in from 6 to 8. We stayed open a little late, which was nice because we had a couple people who called up and said, I'm coming in, but I don't think I'll make it by 7. And it's like, well, good, we'll be open until 8. So they were like, great.
So they showed up at 7:59.
8:01.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason, super nice. Would work with him again in a heartbeat. Very fun to have around. Has a good way of pitching his comic. And yeah, friends of ours. So yeah, it was pretty cool. He name dropped Xander Cannon from Minneapolis.
Oh, nice.
We said how much we love Xander.
Last Pick is about an alien invasion that comes and they take away all of the most physically capable and able-bodied people.
Everyone from 16 to 60. And they leave behind anyone younger than 16, older than 16, anyone with any sort of physical disability. So those people who are left on Earth have to mount a resistance to the aliens.
And it's like, it's called Last Pick because it's like gym class.
Yeah,
you know?
the kids who were last picked.
Yeah, and it's a start of a YA series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
3 volumes, I want to say? I don't know.
See.
We'll find out.
I think the second one is coming out around the same time next year.
Okay. But we have volume 1 in stock.
We do indeed.
Did he sign the wall?
He did. I made sure of it.
Yeah.
He did a piece basically next to where Tony Moore's is.
Oh, okay.
Above Sidekicks.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people will ask where somebody is, but somebody had asked, like they were quizzing me on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
But then they're like, "Where's Daniel?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, Daniel is." I don't know where Daniel is. So I'm looking all over the wall. I'm like, "Where is he?" So somebody's like, "Daniel, where'd you sign the wall?" He's like, "Oh, I signed it without even looking." He told us where it was.
Okay.
So he was good at that.
Which Daniel?
Warren Johnson.
Oh, okay.
He had done Space Mullet.
Yes.
We sold out of Ghost Fleet at his signing.
I saw. We got some more on Friday, though.
Yeah, we sold out of, like, weirdly, Extremity, I think,
Extremity
by
2.
2, and Ghost Fleet.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad people are finding that stuff.
Also, I haven't told you this yet, and I won't tell you it now, but I'll just hint at it.
Uh-huh.
He told me his next project, because Murder Falcon is 8 issues.
Yeah, he said that he likes doing stuff like Extremity and Murder Falcon that's not huge runs.
Yeah.
So he can go on to do new projects.
He pitched his next series idea, and it was approved.
Okay. So he is going to be drawing Batman.
You know, I saw on the Facebook today a Ryan Stegman Batman piece.
Uh-huh.
That was great.
Cool.
That would actually fit well, I think, in Batman.
Yeah.
So get him off of Venom, move him over to like Detective or something.
Sure. Well, no. Doug Mankey's on Detective.
Oh, okay.
Doug Mankey doesn't have to go anywhere.
Right, the new Detective that we ordered in
$9.95
for the new creative team. Which I don't know that I went up enough for Wonder Woman.
You went up a bunch, so we'll wait and see. Well, Wonder Woman wasn't selling super good.
Yeah, that's true.
So I didn't cut it down because when I saw that number, I'm like, that's not a Witching Hour thing anymore. What the hell? Oh, it's the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious about Wonder Woman and Detective and Aquaman.
I think it's going to be hard to get people back into those books. Aquaman subscribers didn't seem to care.
The main thing... So, yeah, I assume the audience, I guess, having seen the data that reads Bitch Planet, could not care less about an Aquaman book by Kelly Sue.
But, what I mean is you sent out an email, right?
I did, yeah, to everyone. That's what I'm saying. Like, I sent out an email to everyone who got Bitch Planet saying, hey, you read Bitch Planet, Kelly Sue's got a she's going to be working on Aquaman. Nobody seemed to care about that.
Nope.
Or at least very few people, and it wasn't necessarily Bitch Planet people who cared. So, I want to say we did, for Wonder Woman, we sent it to everyone who got Ms. Marvel to go, hey, Willow Wilson's taken over this book. You might want to check it out. Which I think we got more on Wonder Woman because that's more of a lateral thing.
Yeah.
Marvel superhero to DC superhero, but Bitch Planet, like, we're going to be sending out an email to everyone who gets Wictiv. We did it for Die, which was easy because Die is another, mature readers fantasy thing from Kieran Gillen.
Yeah.
He's doing Peter Cannon Thunderbolt at Dynamite in January.
Really?
Yeah, and it sounds good. It's Casper Weingart, who did Angelic and some Dr. Aphra stuff, is doing the art. Sean Phillips is doing the covers. The cover looks like the weakest part.
Huh.
But I don't know if people who read Wictiv are going to be like, yeah, I want to read the Kieran Gillen darker superhero thing. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, real curious how DC is going to let people know there's a new creative team on Aquaman and Detective and Wonder Woman. Like, it's not good enough to just say, like, oh, Wilson is the name on the Wonder Woman cover now instead of, Robinson or whatever. You actually have to put on the cover, like, G. Willow Wilson is writing this book, or Kelly Sue DeConnick is writing this book. You don't do that, and we have to hand sell, and not just hand sell, but tell everybody, by the way, this Aquaman book that you already don't want me to tell you about because you don't care about Aquaman and you're only looking at the cover, actually is written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, and it's real good.
They gave us a PDF preview of Wonder Woman, but it's a black and white version.
Yeah.
And the watermarks are all black and white, and the watermarks are our account number in all different sizes and shapes.
Thanks for nothing.
And squiggle lines everywhere. So I looked at the first 3 pages and said, I cannot read this.
I don't even download those anymore because I wait for you to tell me how the watermarks are.
Yeah.
And across the board, everything you've told me has been, like, don't bother downloading it. And that sucks because I would like to know if these books are any good, but I feel like reading them that way would make me think they're not good.
Right. It would be doing a disservice to the book.
Yeah. Don't bother.
But, I mean, I do have high hopes for all 3 of those books.
Yeah, I'm real curious because the market tends to...
I guess 4 if you want to throw Green Lantern in there.
Oh, well, Green Lantern's number 1. I was going to say, like, the market seems to only respond if it's a number 1, which is why those 3 books in particular, they did not renumber with big new creative teams, and I'm not sure if that's going to hurt them a lot.
Did you know that Marvel is renumbering Champions?
Yeah, that's in the new previews.
Because they didn't get... When the new creative team took over, they didn't get the big push of a number 1.
No, even though they put, like, number 1 of an all-new creative team. Like, that didn't work. No one bought that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems...
Still number 19 or whatever.
It seems ridiculous to give it a new number 1.
Yeah.
It's not going to change our orders.
No, especially because what they're doing is they're adding characters that don't have books.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, it's the same writer, and it's the artist from Wayward, which is, I think, better, maybe.
Yeah.
But, all right, sure. No, we're just matching it to everyone who got Champions.
Yeah.
No one's getting an email about that.
I'm concerned about these. Not concerned, but I think I may have been a little bit heavy with some of these IDW Marvel superhero books.
Oh, I mean, like we said near the beginning of this podcast, it's okay to have stuff like that for a while.
Yeah,
We
and
just have
like
to sell in a month.
I don't mind going high on the number 1s.
Real excited about the one that's in January, though.
What is it?
Marvel Action Black Panther.
Oh, nice.
By Kyle Baker.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Real excited about that.
Is he drawing it as well?
Yeah, writing and drawing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Real interested in that. And the rest of them sound good. I mean, none of them sound like a terrible idea. And it's fun to see, just as my personal specific fandom, to see some of the IDW Transformers artists get a chance to do some of those covers and not necessarily interiors and stuff. It's fun to see them because they're online posting like, oh my god, I get to draw Marvel characters. This is so cool.
Almost entirely unrelated, but not kind of. I watched a video today of an interview with John Byrne talking about coming back to Marvel.
Yeah, interesting story.
And about basically how and what he'd be doing.
Yeah.
And he'd be doing his own version of the X-Men right after the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah. Can you talk for a second about like how that came about? Because I thought that was a real interesting part of the story.
I don't know if I can. Which aspect? Do you mean...
Just how he started doing it and how it got to this point.
Just for fun, he one day when he was drawing, he just decided to see if he could draw a page of X-Men again because he hadn't done it for so long. And then it came out as a story. And then little by little, he wound up doing like a page a day. And before he knew it, he had 20 pages of the story that he didn't even plan on writing.
Marvel had not commissioned.
Yeah, he was doing it on spec and just putting it up on Byrne Robotics, which is his website. Mm-hmm. and people were freaking out about it. And that got him a meeting with C.B. Cebulski, a breakfast meeting with C.B. Cebulski at a convention over the summer, where there's nothing to announce, but there's nothing to not announce either.
Yeah, there's a general, if not, a in writing interest in what John Byrne is doing.
But John Byrne had said he doesn't even know if he wants to draw sequential comics, if he can pencil
part of his thing
for somebody else to ink him.
Yeah, if that would be where they went with it, if he'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
Yeah,
I'd be curious, maybe not interested, but I'd be curious to see what Byrne did for an X-Men thing. I was not a fan even back in the day of X-Men Hidden Years.
No,
that
but
felt incredibly indulgent.
The alternate ending to X-Men Uncanny X-Men 137.
Yeah, that's
where Jean Grey lived.
Dark Phoenix without killing Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
If Jim Shooter, basically, what if Jim Shooter didn't exist?
Yeah.
Is what they should call that comic book.
And it's the classic X-Men team and the classic Byrne art style. Bob had already said that that's a book that he'll read monthly.
Digitally, probably. Not from us. Which is fine. It's fine.
Actually, he said he'd buy monthly, but still,
buy it digitally.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I hope Byrne is saving all the pages from that so they can just move right to the artist edition.
Artist edition, sure. Why not?
Fresh, crisp pages.
All just pencils, too.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I think, considering the mitigating circumstances by which this episode was recorded, I think we satisfactorily completed an episode.
Yep. We met the minimum criteria of an episode of Contest of Challengers.
And I'm itching like crazy, but haven't even tried to scratch.
Aww.
I mean, I can't. I have just a giant binder that I have to wear.
Yeah.
That's probably that's causing the pressure. That's causing the itching.
Uh-huh.
More fascinating recovery talk next week. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.